Afternoon, everyone. I want to show you this because it has to do with discovery, something I've been meaning to talk about for a long time. Those of us in the advocacy business and those of us who are attempting to rein ICAC in and demonstrate where it is flawed, know increasingly that we are hearing that discovery is a main problem in these cases, and that is the lack of discovery and how the defense has to fight so hard just to get the evidence that the prosecution has so that they can put on a case. So, start with some terms. Discovery is the evidence that the other side has claiming that you did something. That's what it's called. You can call it the evidence discovery is the things they discovered that supposedly are illustrative of you making some kind of criminal intent. So over and over again, what we're discovering is that they have abused the discovery privileges, and you have to fight tooth and nail to get this. But this is something enshrined in the Constitution. You can't be charged and then be denied the evidence that would help you to defend yourself. How can you defend yourself against the charges if you don't have the evidence? So this is a cardinal rule of jurisprudence that increasingly the prosecution is playing games with. And they have done things such as denied it. They have said it didn't exist. The police lost it. It was corrupted. It was accidentally erased. It was, you would not believe the excuses that the police come up with and that the prosecution advances, and you won't believe this one too when you see it. First of all, shout out to Mark for recommending this and sending it out to our membership so that we understand exactly what it is that police are doing out there. So it's called discovery or evidence. And why would the police possibly, keep it from you? Why would the prosecution not give it to you? Well, the simple answer is they know that it makes them look bad and that you may actually be able to use it to dismiss your case. There are elements of it that are exculpatory, that is, would render you looking pretty good and the police pretty bad. And they don't want to show that to you. So they play a number of games. One of the games they love to play that they've been doing up until recently, where they've come up with new games much more, is they simply wait until the day before your trial. They did this to me two or three times, and two times actually. They wait until the day before and then they announce, oh, we have all this new evidence, all this new discovery, and we are required by law to turn it all over. So here it is. And of course, it's the day before, maybe 4 p.m. on the day before, forcing you, since you don't know what this is and you haven't looked at it, to go to the court quickly and file a continuance, which means that you're asking the judge to push the trial forward. Very often it's granted, but very often, in some cases, it's not. Because you tick off the judge who has this set in the calendar, and now you're bumping it, leaving an open hole in the calendar, and they're already backed up with many cases. Anyway, that's a common trick. They did that with me. We had to bump it forward twice. Then we look at it, it's exactly the same stuff they gave us before. But again, they wait and they play this little trick. And why do they do it? They want to put you in bad light with the judge right off the start. Okay? And again, you have to listen to me. I hope some people are watching and they can corroborate what I'm saying because it happens all the time. And trolls, before you attack me, go talk to a defense attorney if you dare, and the defense attorney will set you straight on this. Okay, so I want to just share this with you and go over. This comes from the National Association of Criminal Defense Attorneys, NACDL, I'm sorry, lawyers, National Association of Criminal Defense Lawyers video. I'm going to play this with us here. Hopefully it'll work. You'll be able to hear it. It's rather short, but it's pretty amazing what they actually get away with at I.C.A.C.
A former school teacher, he's about 75 years old. He was charged with possession. For 9 months,
I'm going to start this over again because I didn't have the gain up totally. I want to make sure you can hear it all. So let's start it here again.
a former school teacher. He's about 75 years old. He was charged with possession of child. For 9 months, I spent day after day fighting the government for access to evidence. They finally let me see the evidence after the judge forced them to. And I'm examining the computer, and I found no child, no search terms, no wiping software, nothing. He had a flip phone. The guy didn't know much about technical anything, but I'm wondering, why did they say he did it? Well, the local law enforcement was relying upon a log file that they were given from the FBI saying he had downloaded it to his IP address. So we went to his house and we fired up this tool called Wireshark, and we started monitoring his Wi-Fi network and found that his neighbor was downloading child while we were there on his Wi-Fi network. Now, when I presented this to the prosecutor, they simply said, well, he owns the IP. And it dawned on me that I'm talking to somebody that did not clearly have the same technology skill set. And we proceeded to trial. And within 15 minutes, the judge unleashed on everybody, because thank God I had a judge that was about 30 years old, that was a little tech savvy, and started screaming and yelling at the prosecutor. And the whole thing ended very, very quickly.
Subscribe to the NACDL channel.
All right. So, that's that's worth its weight in gold in a very short way. So let's unpack a couple of things that are in here. First of all, I want to call out Xavier, who is here in Virginia. I've not heard from him for some time. He reports that that's exactly what the prosecution said to him when a relative of his, or a friend, I can't remember which, was staying at his home. He was in the military, was not around a lot. The friend decided to download CP, and when he came home, they went after him and said he did it. He was estranged from his wife, and his child was taken away from him. He was just a baby. I have not heard from him, but I knew that his um, Virginia State Patrolman was coming after him because of another issue, an issue in which the former compliance officer for the State Patrol was so incompetent, she did not put the information he reported to her, which he could prove he reported, but that didn't matter to the judge. She didn't put that in there. They fired her. A year later, they came and said, why didn't you tell us you were working at this new place? And for that reason, he's probably in jail right now, just because of their incompetence. And he was convicted unfairly to begin with, adding insult to injury, of course, from the fruit of the poisonous tree. He was told, oh, well, you own the IP address, so it's your problem, buddy. Isn't that incredible? That they would destroy this man's life. Now, what is a log file? Well, I'm hardly an expert, but talking to some experts, what a log file does is it indicates at that IP address, it logs every activity that you do, apparently. And so it logged that there was activity connected to that IP address. It did not log what the activity was. It wasn't on the computer, obviously, because his neighbor was tapping into his Wi-Fi. So it would have been on the neighbor's computer. But because of this, that was good enough for them to destroy this man's life. He would have spent the rest of his life in prison potentially. These people don't care, folks. They don't care. Meanwhile, you have a real non-proactive sting case that I want to tell you about just by way of comparison. I was trying to find the file that I had on this guy, and I can't find it. But it was reported recently in the Patch newspaper that a person whose name I cannot remember came through from London to Dulles International Airport out west here, that handles a lot of the international flights for the Washington, D.C. region. This person had been already under suspicion and was being chased down by the local authorities in London, England, and they contacted their representative through ICE, Customs Border Patrol, perhaps, attaché at the American embassy there, who contacted the airport there and contacted the airport here, and they were waiting for this guy when he got off the plane. He supposedly raped a 16-year-old in London. Now, consensual sex with a 16-year-old is not illegal in Europe not even in Britain, I think, if memory serves from doing a little preparation for this. But what is illegal, obviously, is rape. So here you have a reactive sting of sorts. You have a real person calling in a real crime of sexual origin with a real, he was a Ghanaian citizen, not an American citizen, and we're going to go after this guy. And he was arrested. That's the way it's supposed to work. Okay? This proactive sting business is a fishing expedition. It is simply designed to garner as many hits as you possibly can. And then they label you with the P word and destroy your life with that label forever, as they've done with me, as they've done with countless other people. All right. And I thank again Mark for bringing this to my attention because this sort of stuff has to stop. It's ridiculous. But you can see also in there that the prosecution said they didn't care. Now it's your IP. Fortunately, you had a judge who was somewhat tech savvy. Most are not. And they don't care about the distinction. They don't care. Because remember, judges in Virginia and elsewhere get a report card every 10 years. And if you love that judgeship, you love people calling you Your Honor, all right? You love that kind of stuff. You could be thrown off because if you don't hammer the hard cases, the kidnapping, the rape, the sexual assault, the assault with a deadly weapon, or the murder cases, you don't hammer those people, your score is lower. And as a result, you may lose your cushy judgeship. So this really does matter. This is something when you watch these prosecution shows, you even the liberal shows, right? The I'm career prosecutor of 30 some years. They never ever tell you that they held most of the cards. They never ever told you that these games are played. They never told you that these are the sorts of things they did to get convictions. And it's pretty disgusting. But you need to know about them. You need to know that if you learn nothing else from this video, make sure that you get the complete file. It is imperative. And God help you if you get a terrible judge because they just want to push the docket along and say, you got enough, that's enough. And it's not enough. You need to get every bit of that file. And they will fight you on it tooth and nail, just as this defense attorney said in his presentation before the NACDL. They will fight you tooth and nail. Why would they do that if they're about law and honesty and integrity? Because they're not. That's the simple explanation. All right. And you do have to wonder, what are they trying to hide? What do they know about what the police do that could possibly get you off because you were innocent? It's a fair question. I hope you always ask that question when you read about one of these articles where the police are there and the press is simply parroting the police line, like this Loudoun County fool did out there and said, well, Mr. Asian, this is important that we cover these issues happening out here in Loudoun County. Well, no crap. Nobody's saying you shouldn't be covering them. I'm talking about fair and impartial coverage. He has yet to respond to my 2 or 3 queries asking him this question because they're in on it. When I say they're in on it, I'm not at all suggesting that they're getting paid or getting kickbacks from the police, but they might. What I am saying though is that they don't care enough to put the resources into the investigation to find out, even ask one miserable question at a press briefing. Why won't you show us what the police say to these people that gets them in trouble? You talk about how terrible they are, but you never say what you do. Okay? How about even confidentially showing us in a closed briefing what you do so we can ask them questions? Never happens. Why? Because the police have something to hide. And it's very, very important that you understand that real lives are at stake. If this attorney had not done his good work and his due diligence and gotten some lucky breaks, like a tech-savvy young judge who had heard maybe about this, maybe from this channel, you don't know what would have happened to this man, but nothing would have been good. His entire retirement, his whole life would have been destroyed as a result of it. This has been ICAC Unpacked. Have a good day.